this remarkable association of 25 years of Army-industry partnership. And at the outset, let me congratulate the CII and the SIDM who have actively steered this association. As Mr. Patel had mentioned, we were to hold this sometime in September. We'll have to go back. But unfortunately, because of the COVID, we could not do that. And we are now online here. But it would have been a good occasion had we been able to do it in September, because that is when I was also planning the Chiefs Conclave. And it would have been a good opportunity for all the former chiefs to renew their association with the SIDM. But that was not to be. I am told that the catalyst for this partnership 2 decades back was for this growing need for indigenization of spares. But what started off as a mere facilitation has now transformed into an enduring relationship. The private industry is today providing us major defense platforms, including guns, bridges, radars, and a wide range of weapons, ammunition, and equipment. The Indian Army, on its part, has established the ADB, which has been proactively reaching out to effectively harness the potential of our industry towards defense indigenization. There is a dynamic relationship between capability development and evolving security threats. Let me give the example of a hunter and tiger. Once a hunter goes to the forest to hunt a tiger, he waits patiently, and when he gets time to get a clear shot, the tiger jumps high, the hunter fires low. They both run back. The hunter thereafter practices on how to shoot low and goes back to hunt. But to his surprise, he finds that the tiger is also practicing how to jump low. So there will always be this tussle between tiger and hunter, which is actually nothing but threats and capabilities. And a dynamic relation exists between these two, with each always trying to be one up on the other. Hence, to remain current and relevant, capability development must foresee future threats and evolve accordingly. 2020 was a unique year. The twin challenges of the COVID pandemic and the belligerence on the northern borders. The events of the past year have brought to the fore the vulnerability of global supply chains, underscoring the need for self-reliance. Today, self-reliance in defense has become a strategic necessity. It is imperative for us to invest in building long-term indigenous capabilities for application across the entire spectrum of conflict. Niche technologies, including artificial intelligence, autonomous unmanned systems, long-range precision technology, the Internet of Things, 5G, quantum computing, directed energy systems, swarm drones are but a few, and all these will certainly need to be acquired and absorbed as part of our deliberate and continuous process. It is a vital facet of our operational needs at strategic, operational, and even tactical levels, and these have to be addressed in an acceptable time frame. However, it must be appreciated that the dual requirement of fast-tracking modernization and simultaneously promoting self-reliance are indeed challenging objectives for a developing nation like India. Considering the quick pace of defense modernization being undertaken by our adversaries, we are lagging behind slightly. The continuous and heavy dependence of the Indian Armed Forces on equipment of foreign origin needs to be addressed in right earnest through indigenous capability development. And towards meeting the modern day defense requirements, I would like to dwell upon what we are doing, where we are, and what we need to do to be self-reliant. So what are we doing? We are aware that the Indian defense industry is a big enabler for self-reliance in capability building and it is a prerequisite to maintain our strategic influence and freedom of action. Atmanirbhar Bharat is a resolve towards making India self-reliant in all aspects, thereby enabling India to become a key player in the global economy. Our external dependence for weapons and ammunition creates vulnerabilities during times of crisis. However, in the past few years, we have tried to reverse this trend by boosting indigenization and focusing on dual-purpose, high-end technology. This approach will not only ensure self-reliance, but will also hold good during times of contingency with indigenous technologies and weapons. It may be noted that 75% of our priority 1 projects in the 13th Army Plan, costing over rupees 1,50,000 crore, are supporting our efforts towards the Make in India program. You are also well aware that the Ministry of Defense has placed an indigenization list of 101 defense items. This would offer an extraordinary chance to the Indian industry to produce these items using their own capacities. For the Indian Army, the percentage of global schemes that are being contracted has been going down over the past years. There are a number of schemes in the pipeline which have a wholly indigenous content. Whether it be the 10-meter short span modular bridge or the ATAGS. The government is also focusing on increasing the indigenous content in equipment under manufacture in the country through transfer of technologies in order to assist our MSMEs. An important issue that one needs to keep in mind is that indigenous development alone cannot fill existing and envisaged operational voids due to lack of niche technology and manufacturing capability. Hence, there may be some inescapable need on certain percentage of imports. One cannot afford to have operational voids when the enemy is at the gates. The Defense Acquisition Procedure, DAP 2020, has been aligned to empower the domestic industry. Another initiative has been to increase the FDI limit in defense production to 74% from the existing 49% under the automatic route. So while all these initiatives are quite appreciable, there is a lot of work that still needs to be done. And so I come to what more needs to be done. Our former defense minister, late Shri Manohar Parrikar, is known to have once remarked that our entire procurement process is based on distrust. There are certain inherent procedural lacunae that have crept into the acquisition process, which primarily arise due to the overbearing nature of our rules, regulations, and guidelines in trying to ensure zero error. This is also aggravated by our own interpretation of rules. The DPP 2016, which was about 450 pages, has now evolved to DAP 2020, which has 681 pages. We end up not only not being able to fast track the process of acquisition, it is because we try to cater for every contingency and plug every loophole. This results in the acquisition process being tied up in knots. To that end, what has happened is that the processes and procedures, rather than the product, have become paramount, and these are holding hostage defense modernization. To this end, let me give a few points, a few illustrations across the board, not relevant or particular to anyone. Our qualitative requirements, for example, are formulated in a very stringent manner. We want the best of what is available across the world without realizing the overarching technological limitations that come with every feature that is expected in an equipment. To compound the issue, vendors also tend to overpromise. Combining both in a set of QRs becomes undeliverable. These then require a reset from time to time when a lot of effort and resources have been spent in trying to achieve them. Another aspect is the interpretation of various rules and regulations. For example, a QR was formulated for skis to be used in snowbound terrain to weigh between 2 and 5 kilos. When a vendor offered ultralight skis weighing 1.6 kilos, he was rejected at the TEC stage. Similarly, punjees, which are essentially sharp pointed spikes used as obstacles. During the JRI on delivery, its weight was found to be 6 kilos, but it was rejected because the QR said between 3 and 5 kilos. Why I'm highlighting these two examples, which are opposite end of the spectrum, just because they're defying logic. Little did we consider that the heavier weight of the punjees or the lighter weight of the skis are actually better for operations. But no, it was written in stone, and there was no way you could override any of these regulations. Yet another aspect is the user trials of equipment. The main refrain being that trials take too long. Well, let me clarify that most of the time which is spent in the trials or in the trial phase is actually taken up by physical movement of the equipment to and fro the trial area, repairs, logistics, and so on. And that is why all these delays. The laborious and time-consuming and often rigid stages of this acquisition process also in themselves create delays in the acquisition cycle. During this cycle, better versions of the equipment become available than is in the original contract. But there is still no scope for negotiation to incorporate these new features and to make any mid-course corrections. Any contemplated change takes this already delayed cycle back to the start point, and then you have to start once again. So it becomes a vicious cycle. So we need to be able to fast track all these things. Since we have made the rules, we should also have the latitude to override them. Pravdhan nahi hai is no excuse that there is no provision. We made the rules, we should have the override facility. The rules have to be user friendly, both for the customer, that is end user, the armed forces, as well as the manufacturer. The process is only to help these two ends. And this waiver clause must be there to cater for operational condition and the logic which I just mentioned, and to accommodate different specifications than were originally promulgated. The aim should be to induct the product fastest rather than trying to go through all the process and all these stages as a mandatory kind of requirement. Here I wish to underscore that in order to complement the revolution in military affairs, RMA, that we keep talking about, we also require a revolution in bureaucratic affairs, or RBA, to realize our vision of self-reliance. A recent article just 2 days ago in the news website The Wire titled, "The Deadly Alphabet Soup," that is India's defense acquisition procedure, further reinforces this point. I quote from the article, "Innumerable sentences in the recent Defense Acquisition Procedure 2020, unveiled in September, run into hundreds of words and paragraphs into countless sentences, severely challenging comprehension, as one tends to forget the beginning of the text by the time the end is reached. Interlacing it with equally confusing acronyms further taxes the decipherer," unquote. This indeed should be a wake-up call for all of us. But let me assure you that does not mean that everything is not good. There are a number of initiatives being taken to refine this process and give a boost to our industry. And the Army Design Bureau is one such measure, and since its inception in 2017, it has been harnessing the potential of local industry and the academia for addressing the requirements of the Indian Army. It has undertaken pan-India mapping of institutions, including IITs, and holding of industry by providing firing ranges, testing facilities, equipment and weapon systems, innovation competitions, DEF Expo. All these have resulted in a coherent development of our capabilities and aligned to the requirements of the Army. On our part, we have brought about major structural changes in our organization, the revolution I was talking about, by aligning both the revenue and capital routes of procurement under the Deputy Chief of Army Staff, capability development and sustenance, the erstwhile DCOS, PNS. And combining these procurement routes will result in optimal capability building, as it will provide a single point of contact to the industry. We have also encouraged industry visits to operational areas and organized equipment displays to provide a clear operational perspective and access to service equipment. The annual Master General of Sustenance, erstwhile MGO, Industry Cooperation Meet is yet another major event where we release our olive pages, which lists our annual requirement of spares, both for sustenance and upgrades. And these documents are widely available on the Indian Army website.